السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رحمة المهداة والنعمة المسلمة علاه. نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. أما بعد, we are in the kitab, the book of Imam al-Ghazali, and he's still talking about addressing the issue of loving of prestige and power. That's an issue of Ihya, showing off. Before I go to the new chapter that bab that we're going to talk about, I just want to go back to last week or last time we spoke. I wanted to address an issue that Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah have mentioned. He said, لأن الممدوح على الحقيقة هو المقرب إلى الله والمذموم على الحقيقة هو المبعد من الله الملقى في النار مع الأشرار. وهذا الممدوح إن كان عند الله من أهل النار فما أعظم جهله إذا فرح بمدح غيره، وإن كان من أهل الجنة فلا ينبغي أن يفرح إلا بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى وثنائه عليه. He said that in life people praise some people, criticize some people, put people down, elevate someone. He said that if a person who been praised is a not righteous person, what the praise of people do to you? Because he said the praiseworthy person is a person drawn near to Allah, al-muqarrab ila Allah. And the blameworthy person is a person that distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said therefore, if you're close to Allah and people praise you, that's less than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have for you. Therefore, you should think about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala might have for you rather than what human being has for you. And if a person being criticized and blamed and looked down upon, but the person doing the right things, prays 5 times a day, like Muslim children being bullied in the school. If a person knows that what he is doing, if she is doing, something draw them near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it draws them near to Allah, then don't care about what people say about you. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That doesn't mean a person will not feel sad. We are human beings. We are emotionally, psychologically feel sad. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Rasulullah فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَكُن مِّنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. When whatever they say and bother you, turn to Allah in glorification and praising and dhikr and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is what I want just to address before I go to the next chapter here. Now he's talk about bayan ilaj karahiyat al-dham, the remedy of disliking criticism. Dham is criticism or being blamed for something. Now, the dham has different levels. We're going to talk about it. قالوا سبق أن العلة في كراهة الذم هي ضد العلة في حب المدح. So the reason that people don't like to be criticized is the opposite of the reason that people like to be praised. فعلاجه أيضا يفهم منه. He said that if you want to seek remedy of accepting criticism and disliking criticism, he said, what is the remedy for that? والقول الوجيز فيه أن من ذمك لا يخلو من 3 أحوال. He said the person who criticizes you, there is a 3 station or 3 levels that person would not be free from them. Either one of those things is applicable on them. إما يكون قد صدق فيما قال. Either a person who criticizing us is truthful, is saying the right thing, he said the truthful thing about us. وقصد به النصح والشفقة. But his or her intention is to give us advice. They are compassionate, they care about us. That's why he criticizes us. And that most of the time, we're going to talk about this later, most of the time should be the criticism or the observation the parents give to the children. It should be should be truthful about it, but it should be the reason they give that criticism should be to convey an advice, to correct behavior, and it comes from the love, state of love and compassion. I will address this in a few minutes because sometimes parents don't know how to give nasiha and they have wrong criticism to their children. I'm going to come to that in a minute. وإما يكون صادقا ولكن قصده الإيذاء والتعنت. A person may be truthful, but the reason that they're giving you, criticizing you, they want to hurt the other person. And they want to make a point. Sometimes we want to humiliate the other person. وَإِمَّا إِن يَكُونَ كَاذِبًا. Either that person also is lying, says something about us, and it's not true. He criticized something that we have not done. But he's going to elaborate on that, and I'm going to give you my own also analysis for this for contemporary time. How we deal with this as parents, how do we deal with as colleagues at work, how do you accept criticism from others, how do you deal with emotions psychologically. This is a very important aspect of who we are, especially in social media area or time. فإن كان صادقا وقصده النصح. If a person is truthful and their intention to give a sincere advice, ولا ينبغي أن تذمه وتغضب عليه. He should not lash back on a person and become angry with them and have grudge against them. بل ينبغي أن تتقلد منته فإن من أهدى إليك عيوبك فقد أرشدك إلى المهلك لك حتى تتقي. He said you should praise the person, thank them, because they told us our shortcoming. Whoever tells us our shortcoming have protected us from falling in the trap or doing the wrong things that might hurt us. Therefore we should celebrate, should become happy. فينبغي أن تفرح به. And then we focus وتشتغل بإزالة الصفة المذمومة. And then you have to remove or change this bad characteristic in yourself. صفة المذمومة. عن نفسك إن قدرت عليها, if you are able to do so. فأما اغتمامك بسببه وكراهتك له وذمك إياه فإنه غاية الجهل. He said, you start hating people that giving you advice is a sign of our ignorance. Now, let me just share with you the approach to nasiha. For us to accept it, for us to convey it. The advice has following elements. You have to think about it. Number one, it is how it's conveyed, and there's two natures of it. في العلن وفي السر. Public and private advice. When do you give a private advice? When you give public advice. The private advice is always more preferable to tell a person between you and them. And that's always less likely a person doing it for showing off because it's private. In alan, when a person does something in public that maybe have committed injustice against someone, or says something not true publicly, you have to correct it in the public because other people walk away with misunderstanding. But in both approach, the public and private, person have to adhere to the principles or the teaching of the Sunnah of conveying advice. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhim salam, when he sent them to Pharaoh, قال فقولا له قولا لينا لعله يذكر ويخشى. When you go to Pharaoh, speak softly to him. Perhaps, maybe his heart might be softened. Maybe will fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لعله يذكر ويخشى. Here, the softness of the message is an obligation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Musa to do. How Pharaoh will receive that advice, it is not the responsibility of Musa alayhi salam. Therefore, I have to care about how I'm conveying it, not caring about what may be the reaction of the person, not accepting the softness and the gentleness of mine. Okay? That is one aspect of it. Also, a person give the advice should come from good place of humility. A person should not come from the arrogant position to try to prove that other person they know more than them, they have more experience than them, or to tell them that how ignorant they are. That is will pollute and corrupt the intention, and Allah will not accept the advice we're given to the person. Okay? By the way, that does not mean the other person will not accept the advice, even if it's harsh and so forth. If it is true, we're going to come to that. A person should look to the merit of the advice. Now, the other aspect of this is that I was saying earlier, a person should not connect advice with insult. Differentiate between advice and insulting somebody. As we convey the message, that we might sometimes in the process of insulting somebody, culture, insulting somebody, physical appearance, insulting somebody, and because we wanted to have to draw their attention. And unfortunately, sometimes parents do that to the children. They use words that are very hurtful, like "you lazy, you're good for nothing. I wish I've not given birth to you." That's not how it was, children. Parents, they say that to their children. I'm very ashamed that you're my child. And so, sometimes for small things, they say that to the children. And children don't forget those kind of things. We have to be careful not to be verbally abusive as you're giving advice, And even if you want the best for your children, that's not the way you talk to them. It's not acceptable, looking down to children and so forth. And some children said to me, their parents are very abusive. Even the child, maybe the father or the mother may be righteous appearing to people, religious, let me say, religious people, religious individuals. They're very harsh in the way they speak, and the physical, sometimes abusive and verbal abusive. That's not acceptable. Not acceptable from Sharia perspective. Therefore, that people keep that with them for a long time. Therefore, who giving the nasiha is very important. There's a level of nasiha, or maybe the social levels has something to do with nasiha. نقول نحن في علم التربية, in knowledge, science of discipline, of raising people, children, and so forth, or knowledge of etiquette. If a scholar giving advice to another scholar is different than an average person giving a nasiha to scholar. A person of authority giving them nasiha different than your peer. Giving nasiha to my parents is different than I give nasiha to my children. The way I'm going to talk to both of them. Sometimes you heard adult people say, "You're talking to me like a child." I'm not a child. Because sometimes we don't switch. We talk to the adult like children. a man will speak to his wife as he's talking the same thing will speak to his children, same language. It's not the same. It's not equal. The husband cannot speak to his wife, speak to his wife, as speak to his children. Or a wife to speak to her husband as if talking to her children. That is disrespectful. As the way that we speak to our parents. For it is very important to realize that. You know the story about Al-Hasan and Hussein, alayhi salam, radallahu anhu? You know the story about them? Very famous story. They saw a man making wrong wudu. They say, how can I correct this man? He has gray hair, older than us. They come to him and says, Uncle, my brother and I want to be tested in our wudu. Can you be the one who tests us? He said, of course I can test you. Before they said, make wudu. They start making wudu in front of him. And they made the wudu the same way, both of them. He said, how do you learn wudu? He said, yes. He said, then I made a mistake. My wudu was not correct. That's how sometimes very subtle way of advising people. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would know one of his companions made a mistake. He wanted to correct it publicly, but he was not naming that person. You know what he used to say? ما بال أقوام يفعلون كذا وكذا. Why some people would do such a thing? He will not name a person. He will not shame them publicly. What we have today is something called Facebook and Instagram. There's some people are very angry, Muslims included, very angry people, and they do just criticizing people and so forth and so on. To the extent one of them said, I'm going to continue to criticize this scholar until he responds to me. I said, it's about yourself. You want it to be known. He said, I will keep attacking him until he responds to me. Really? Yes, you're not doing it for Allah. You're not doing it for Allah. And there's so many people, it's about controversial things. How much like am I going to get my Facebook? And then when they walk in the street, they walk with this social media in their shoulder here. I'm 5-star general. 5-star general in social media. Because I have 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 like or followers in my Instagram. General for yourself. What is this general for what? You know? And that's what self-distractions. A person must do it for Allah. And sometimes they know the telephone number of a person they're about to make the post about them. But they will not call them. Because if they call them, then it will diminish the spiciness and the tag and the name and the fame. What is this? Sometimes people say, if you don't do what I'm doing, what I'm asking you to do, I'm going to go publicly, I'm going to humiliate you. Why? There has to be a condition that I have to listen to everything you say, though you're going to say something not true about me. They do that to foundation, they do that to organizations. Blackmailing, called blackmailing. Blackmailing people. I'm going to cancel you. If you don't go my way, I'm going to cancel you. Really? Allah only the one who cancels people. You don't cancel me. Get my point? That's very important. Then the approach of nasiha, which is the timing of it. You don't give a nasiha to somebody who's hungry. Feed them first. You heard the expression the British says, a hungry man is an angry man. And then a person just come from an exhausted trip or come from, whatever it may be, and then they just get into it and somebody says, let me tell you something, and everything is negative. Give a person a break. ملاحظة الزمان. A person, they say لكل مقام مقال ولكل حادثة حديث. For every time there's a proper speech to be given to. وَلِكُلِّ حَادِثَةٍ حَدِيثٍ. For every event, there's something that matches with that event. You know? Like some people give advice in wedding, they should not speak at wedding. That people should take a microphone from them. Insulting everybody. You know? Making everyone not at ease. Or sometimes they give advice in the time of funeral, where people were crying, and they start criticizing people and so forth. And people are hurting. You don't talk to people like that during the funeral. I said, brother, keep the advice to yourself. A person is hurting now. It's not the right time to talk to them. Therefore, it's mura'at al-hal. You see the condition of a person, and then give them advice based on that. Sometimes we don't know people's mental health. A person might be depressed. People have anxiety. A person have worries. A person is panicking. You don't give the advice to some other person who doesn't have that condition or is not in that state. Therefore, it is very important for us to look to the time and the place. المكان والزمان. مراعاة المكان والزمان. The last things is that it is in a person receiving the nasiha. We just talked about someone who will give the nasiha. How about the person receiving it? المتلقي للنصيحة. Imam al-Ghazali is going to talk about it in a minute now. Let's have to have that in mind. He said, if a person says something to us and was sincere, we should accept it and celebrate it and be happy with it. رحم الله امرئ أهدى إلي عيوبي. May Allah bestowed His mercy upon someone who showed me my shortcoming. Yeah. For we have to have humility in accepting the nasiha. The second thing he said, a person may give us the nasiha, might be a person who wants to make a point, want to humiliate us. وإن كان قصده التعنت فأنت قد انتفعت بقوله إذا أرشدك إلى عيبك إن كنت جاهلا به. There's some people like your enemy. The best people you can get advice from sometimes is your enemy because they're so critical of you. If it is true, if what said about you, us is true, then we accept the nasiha, even if we don't like from whom it came. But look to the merits of the nasiha. Okay? قال وذكرك هذا إذ أرشدك إلى عيبك إن كنت جاهلا به وذكرك عيبك إن كنت غافلا عنه أو قبحه في عينك لينبعث حرصك على إزالته إن كنت قد استحسنته وكل ذلك أسباب سعادتك وقد استفدته منه فاشتغل بطلب السعادة فقد أتيح لك أسبابها بسبب ما سمعته من المذمة. يعني he says that, and he gave an example. He said if a person go to a gathering with clothes that have najasa on them, and somebody told you that you have najasa, even that a person that you don't like, you look at yourself and say, yeah, I need to clean my clothes. But he says, and let that person get the sin of being arrogant. They may be arrogant, they may say it in a manner that's not acceptable. Let that be there for them. Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hold them accountable to that. Now, the question be, somebody may ask a question, but if we accept the nasiha from someone who's arrogant, are we encouraging them? Are we encouraging them? Right? Sometimes you can give a nasiha to someone who gives a nasiha. How is that? Somebody saw me making wudu and I did not wash my hand all the way up. You can see dry hand. He said, who taught you? You're old man, don't know how to make wudu. Wash your hand. I look to my hand, it's not been washed. Should I insist to make salah with this, or should I wash my hand? I should wash my hand. But I can take it an opportunity that says, Jazakallah khair. Allah bless you. Thank you so much. You, subhanallah. If you just said it in a softer word, it would have been even more beautiful. I think you just missed that opportunity. Jazakallah khair. I could have listened to you if you don't raise your voice. That I give advice, someone give me advice. I acknowledge the advice, but I come back and say to him, yeah, it's true, but the way he said it, instead of me cursing back on him, shouting back on him, this is in the Quran. How you deal with people? Let me just explain to you something that, from psychological point of view. If somebody criticizes you and I, we have an option, we have choices. The choice is to respond immediately and to become defensive. We do that, don't we? Become defensive. The best thing is if you see an email that's full of criticism, don't write an email immediately. Sleep on it. Seriously. Especially between husband and wife and family members. Sleep on it big time. If there was big time, sleep on it. Because more likely, as you respond, not only going to be defensive, you're going to cross the line. نعتدي. تعدى على الآخرين. We're going to say bad things about the person, bring the worst out of us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السِّيَّةُ. He said, good and bad will never become equal. ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. Respond in the best manner to someone who have said something bad about you. فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. All of us, we have lashed on people, don't we? Astaghfirullah min dhalik. I seek refuge and istighfar. I ask Allah to forgive me. We need to follow this nasiha. Yes, I need to follow the nasiha I'm telling you. I want you to follow the nasiha. We sleep on it. I just made a commitment as I prepare for this class that I will try to adhere to this. You sleep on it. Or take time. Because when we take time to respond, it makes us think through. One time I did this, alhamdulillah, I felt better. Somebody says something public in the internet, and somebody says we need to respond because of the aspect of faith from the Islam. I said, maybe we need to sleep on it a little bit. When you sleep on it, actually you become soft. Your heart softens, and then you think about the best manner, and you take the upper hand. كن خير منها. Be better than the person who criticizes you, or criticizes us. فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة, maybe the person have enmity between you and them, it may become your best friend. You never know. You might tend them to become your best friend. And I have seen that before. Somebody says something loudly, aggressively, and when you smile and he says, have you finished? Yeah. I think what you're saying, Jazakallah khair, or take it to heart. Good advice and so forth. But inshallah, next time you don't have to shout. You're saying good things, but the way you should say it is better than that. ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. It softens people's heart. وإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and there's the one aspect of this is that if somebody, we're going to come to the third point, he said, فَإِنْ كَانَ كَاذِبًا. If a person is lying about us, say something about it, but it's a lie, it's not true. What do you do? وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. When the ignorant people speak to them, they say salam, peace. I don't have time for this. I don't have time to disturb my peace and so forth. I'm going to have a peace of mind. My heart will be in serenity. فَأَخَذَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. You know why? قالوا سلاما, because والذين يبيتون لربهم سجدا وقياما. They pray tahajjud at night. They are at peace with Allah. They're in serenity with Allah. When they see people next day in the morning, they don't have time for nonsense. Life is so precious to be wasted in WhatsApp cursing. That's for people my age. Or Instagram responding. Or Facebook trashing. Or Twitter competition. It's more precious than that. Really. Life is more precious than to be wasted. For if a person is lying, how much time do you have to spend to lies? Don't. If Rasulullah all his life responded to people who lied about him, Islam will not have come to us. You know? أعرض عن الجاهلين خذ العفو وأمر بالعرف وأعرض عن الجاهلين. Allah said to Rasulullah, أعرض عن الجاهلين. Get away from them. Don't waste time with them. For this is a very important aspect of how to hold your ground and to live your life with dignity and honor. قال وأما الحالة الثالثة أن يفتري عليك بما أنت بريء منه عند الله تعالى فينبغي أن لا تكره ذلك ولا تشتغل بذنبه بل تتفكر في ثلاثة أمور. He said, don't become occupied. Don't occupy your mind with this. He says, think of three things. أحدها أنك إن خلوت من ذلك العيب فلا تخلو من أمثاله وأشباهه ما ستر الله من عيوبك أكثر فاشكر الله تعالى لم يطوع على عيبك رفعوا عنك بكلمة أنت بريء منه. يعني one of the tabi'in, somebody criticized him or something he doesn't have. It's not true about them. For he said to him, Jazakallah khair for what you're saying about me, for giving me your hasanat. But I'm going to tell you, the thing that you don't know about me, worse than what you say about me. But Allah concealed them. You don't know them. What I do, maybe it's worse than what you think. But Allah does not tell you. I have to work on myself. But what you said is not true. You know? والثاني أن ذلك كفارات لبقية مساوئك وذنوبك فكأنه رماك بعيب أنت بريء منه وطهرك عن ذنب أنت ملوث به. He said, when people criticize you and say things wrong about you, it is purification to us. وكل من اغتاب فقد أهدى إليك حسناته. Whoever backbite you have given you their حسنات. وكل من مدحك فقد قطع ظهرك. Whoever praise you too much have broke your back. وما بالك تفرح بقطع الظهر وتحزن بهدايا الحسنات. Said, why are you celebrating somebody breaking your back and getting upset when somebody gives you their حسنات. قال وأما الثالث, for the third, فهو أن المسكين قد جنى على دينه حتى سقط من عين الله. Whoever say false things about people have violated their faith and they've fallen before the eyes of Allah, and he destroyed himself by fabricating things about people, and they will be punished severe punishment in their judgment. And that is, do not get angry with people whom Allah is already angry with them. Don't waste your time. Allah is already angry with them. For تشمت الشيطان به, that don't let the shaitan make تشمت الشيطان be, what do you mean that when a person become angry, shaitan become happy. وتقول اللهم اهلكه بل ينبغي أن تقول اللهم اصلحه. He said, don't say, oh Allah, destroy a person. Say, oh Allah, make this person a better person. Allahumma tub alayhi, oh Allah, give them repentance. Allahumma arhamhu, oh Allah, give them mercy. He said, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when the people made his face full of blood in the day of Uhud, what did he say? What did he say? Allahumma aghfir li qawmi, Allahumma ahdi qawmi, fa innahum la ya'lamun. Allah, forgive my people, guide them, they don't know what they're doing. That after they broke his teeth and wounded his face and took life of his uncle, Hamza. Subhanallah. Then he said that. ودعا إبراهيم بن أدهم لمن شج رأسه بالمغفرة فقيل له في ذلك فقال اعلم أني مأجور بسببه ما نال منه إلا خير ولا أراد أن يكون هو معاقبا بسببه. Ibrahim ibn Adham, a man injured him, and he said, he made dua for them. They said, may Allah forgive them. Now, they said, because I don't want Allah to punish them for what they have done. He says, وَمَا يُهَوِّنُ عَلَيْهِ كراهة الذم قطع الطمع فإنما استغنيت عنه مهما ذمك لم يعظم أثره في قلبك. He said, be careful. He said that the thing that make a person does not care about much criticism, one does not care about how people think about them in the eyes of Allah, compare that to the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't worry about people's criticism because you are not interested in their power or their money. وما دام الطبع قائما كان حب الجاه والمدح في قلبي منطمعت فيه غالبا وكان همتك لتحصيل المنزل في قلبه مصروفة ولا ينال ذاك إلا بهدم الدين. He said, if a person always worried about appeasing people because they wanted to have dualistic or materialistic gains, they always avoid any kind of criticism because they want to be praised by people. Now, I just want to conclude this by saying the following, and then if you have any questions. I'm going to make like 4 points. How you deal with criticism? Number 1, as I said, take your time. Number 2, turn something negative to something positive. تحويل الشيء السلبي للإيجابي. Turn something negative to something positive. The 3rd, respond to something bad or something good. Number 4, a person have to have hilm and hikmah. Very interesting. Al-Halim Hakim, wal-Hakim Halim. Forbearing person is a person who is wise, and every wise person is forbearing. Why? Because al-hikmah وضع الشيء في موضعه. Hikmah is to put things in the right place. And if a person always in hasty in decision and hasty responding and hasty making judgment on people, always make mistakes. For you have to, forbearing meaning that you take your time. And that lead to hikmah, wisdom. That because you will see what you're going to put your foot. أين تضع قدمك? Before you move. So the person does not trip. Okay? Now, the other things I want to say, and then we, in the class, we have to be careful not to create low self-esteem within ourselves. If you continue subject yourself to attack by people, then it can impact your heart. What I mean by that? There's some people, their intention is to bring a person moral down. Bullying in a school. That bullying in school is not criticism. That's an attack. And a person must protect themselves from it. Okay? Therefore, we should not accept that. Because if we do so, then we will promote injustice and allow people arrogance to continue to be arrogant. Now, what's the difference between a a sincere advisor person and a person who wants to humiliate. When a person gives nasiha, does not go and spread rumors of said, oh, you know what happened? This person was this and that was horrible. So I told them. No, that is meant to humiliate the other person. Now, the last thing I want to say is nasiha that is based on innocent ignorance, which is a person sometimes, before you give the nasiha, be careful. You see somebody praying in this masjid, and the person, as we're going to see, and not brothers in among us, they pray the hand down. And somebody, Hanafi, prayed like this. Hanbali do like this, Shafi'i do like this. Malik and Ja'fari pray the hand down. And he said, Subhanallah, they don't know what to pray. Astaghfirullah al-Azim, they don't know the Sunnah. Come down. Look to the madhab. Where do you study this? Madhab Malik. Pray down, hand down. Person prayed, come from the prayer, does not say this, tarwih. So, Subhanallah, doesn't know what to pray Sunnah. No. It's very ignorance lead to problems. Ignorance lead to problem. Alhamdulillah, I did not break it. Ignorance lead to problem. He says, you heard this mathal. There's a mathal say the following. It says, if you have a bottle of water, have a little water in it. When you move it, what happened to it? It makes a lot of noise. When it is full, that make noise? قليل العلم خطر. Little bit of knowledge, there's a lot of noise. Huh?
Empty vessel sounds much.
What's that?
There is a saying forward, empty vessel sounds much.
Yes. Therefore, that's the problem that people have, that quickly jump to conclusion. They don't study. Yeah. Well, somebody comes to me and says, why you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim in your Fatiha? Isn't the Sunnah not to say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? I said, both Sunnah. Rasulullah al-Fatiha, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is an ayah in the Fatiha. Imam al-Shafi'i said you have to say it, and Imam Ja'far said say it. And therefore I say it because other people believe that if you don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you have not recited the Fatiha, and the Salah will not be valid. Nasiha has to be based, hold your horse, don't pass judgment. How do you give nasiha on this? Nasihat al-muta'allim, the advice of a person who wants to learn. Brother, the way you're praying is not the same way I was told to pray. There's another opinion in that? Yes. That is nasihat al-muta'allim. The advice or seeking knowledge by asking. And if he said, I don't know, then if a person doing something that is you come to know maybe not correct completely, not in any madhab, then you say to them, I don't know. You prayed Maghrib 4 rak'at, brother. There's no madhab said Maghrib 4 rak'ats. You know any madhab like that? Therefore, there's a mistake there. Mujma' alayhi. We have to seek knowledge. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت تولنا فيمن توليت اكفنا الشر ما قضيت إنك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما تفرقنا من بعد تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل فينا ولا منا ولا بيننا شقيا ولا محروما وصلى الله